just the normal, right?
Yeah.
We've had over the past week, all of this, kerfuffle, if you will, over whether this second strike was lawful, whether it was ordered by the secretary. And the reality is, much of what you saw in that reporting, they relied upon anonymous sourcing without really matching it to what the reality is. And the reality is, any operation like that, it doesn't go off of an oral order like that. They have very detailed, written, vetted, signed rules of engagement, and that's what controls, not any oral order. There wasn't any oral order. And ultimately, a lot of the reports that are coming out now saying they're worried that the Pentagon and the president is, throwing Mitch Bradley under the bus.
Yeah.
Totally untrue. Admiral Bradley is a combatant commander. He is somebody that we trust to make the right decisions. And the fact that the secretary and the president have said there was no unlawful order, that doesn't throw Bradley under the bus. That frees him up.
Sure.
Because under the original narrative that was being put out, Bradley's guilty because he followed an unlawful order. By pulling the fake unlawful order off the table, it instead frees up Bradley to say, no, I was the commander.
Yeah.
I made a decision based on the conditions as I had them at the time.
Right.
And so by allowing him to actually go out there and do that, you're allowing him really to defend himself. And so all of these claims of war crimes and everything else.
And that's the kind of, that's what we want in the military, right? People to be able to do their job.
Correct. And that's another piece of this, is that when they talk about how, Secretary Hegseth ordered the follow-on strike, that does not actually match the reality of this administration. Okay, back in the Obama administration, yes, a lot of the
micromanagement,
a lot of the decision-making was held at the top. But whether it's the first Trump administration or the second Trump administration, one of the key features in this building is that they push the command responsibility back down to the commanders to allow them to command.
Yes.
And that's what happened here.
So I wanted to talk about quickly on the battlefield in Afghanistan. How do you treat the combatants? Non-uniform, not under a flag or nation state. How do you treat them with Geneva and others? And now we don't sign on to the Convention of the Seas, right? And so, when people say they violated international law by doing this, what are they referencing to? Right.
Right. So what they're talking about there is it is unlawful to target shipwrecked individuals. And this is a little bit different from on land. There are different laws related to the sea. Yeah. Shipwrecked individuals may not be targeted for killing. But what that's talking about, that's not talking about this situation. That's talking about, remember in World War II, where the Germans and the Japanese would come in after hitting an American ship, and you'd have American sailors in the water swimming.
Yeah.
And they would come in and they would strafe them with machine guns to kill them in the water.
Yeah.
That's the war crime. Here, if you have two injured terrorists who are still on the boat is damaged, but the boat is floating, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, but the boat is damaged, floating, and still has cocaine on board. Admiral Bradley's orders were to put the cocaine and the boat to the bottom of the ocean.
Right, right.
If there happen to be two wounded terrorists on board, they are collateral damage. If there are two wounded terrorists clinging to a piece of wood off to the side, you can't shoot them. You can shoot the boat. If they're on the boat, they're collateral damage.
Wow. I wonder if, I heard a Republican congressman today criticizing it. And I'm like, what about the 3,000 people who overdosed in North Carolina last year, right? In his state. So.
And that's one of the problems, is that you have politicians that are making broad sweeping statements and they're pronouncing guilt without knowing all of the facts and, quite frankly, without knowing all of the law. Yeah. We've had a lot of people that have gone onto X to give their uninformed legal opinion over, if there were two wounded people, then it's clearly a war crime. Well, no, it's not. Not if they are on a lawful target. We did this in World War II. Battle of Midway, we destroyed one of the Japanese carriers. It was dead in the water. It was unable to fight, unable to launch or recover aircraft, and full of wounded Japanese sailors. And you know what we did? We had the USS Nautilus continue to pump torpedoes into it until it went to the bottom of the ocean, killing most of the injured Japanese sailors on board. Not a war crime, because the military objective was to take the aircraft carrier out of the fight so it couldn't be towed back, repaired, and returned to the fight.
Interesting. Yeah.
But if instead they were machine gunning Japanese sailors in the water, that's the war crime.
Well, I got that. That's very interesting. Thank you for informing our audience out there, because, you know, Real America's Voice News, we want to bring the truth to the people.